Hey listeners, we're nearing the end of our 15th anniversary fundraising campaign, and we need your help to meet our goal. This campaign offers you a chance to win a unique food and music experience in one of the most exciting cities in America. Here's how it works. Donate to HRN and you'll be entered to win dinner for two and 2 tickets to a concert in one of 8 amazing cities: New York, Los Angeles, Philadelphia, Nashville, Las Vegas, Charleston, Ardmore, Pennsylvania, and Asheville. All donations support our work educating food system storytellers. And when you donate, you can choose one of those cities and you'll be entered to win dinner and 2 tickets to a show. So help us reach our goal and enter to win dinner and a show in the city of your choice. Check out heritageradionetwork.org/15 to donate and enter to win today. That's heritageradionetwork.org/15. Thank you.
This episode is brought to you by Wisconsin Cheese. We do more varieties and flavors of cheese than anywhere else on Earth. By pushing the boundaries of what cheese can and should be, find your next favorite cheese at wisconsincheese.com.
Welcome to the Grape Nation, your weekly wine journey. I traveled to Cambria, Santa Maria, and Los Olivos, California in November to visit and speak with Raj Parr in his truck at his Phelan farm, Mike Roth and Craig Winchester from Lo-Fi Wines in their barrel room, and Tom and Peter Stoltman at their Stoltman Vineyards and tasting room. I also asked everyone at the end of the interview to recommend some holiday wines. I'm your host, Sam Ben-Ruby. Stay with us for the Grape Nation on the Heritage Radio Network. We bring wine to the people. Raj Parr needs no introduction. He is the proprietor and winemaker at Domaine de la Côte, Sandy, and Evening Land. He has now devoted his life to Phelan Farm, through observation and by treating the land with love and respect, ensuring that his vines thrive in tandem with the diverse species of microbes, plants, and animals that compose the ecosystem. His wines will start coming out very soon. Over 20 years ago, Tom Stoltman, an attorney from the Bay Area, obsessed with limestone, discovered the site of his dreams in the Central Coast, a perfect place to grow Rhone varietals. Tom, now with his son Peter, are committed to preserving the natural environment through conscious farming, drive farming, sustainable employment, and practicing minimal intervention in the cellar at Stoltman Vineyards. Mike Roth and Craig Winchester, old college buddies, started Lo-Fi Wines, embracing a nothing added, nothing taken away philosophy that gives birth to wines that are young, vibrant, and alive. They use neutral barrels, native yeast, little to no sulfur additions, no adjustment of pH, along with whole cluster fermentation and carbonic maceration. Their easy drinking, lower alcohol wines are made to pair well with all types of food, from pizza to pate. We speak with Raj Parr first, then Tom and Peter Stoltman, and finally Mike and Craig from Lo-Fi. Enjoy.
And we came here, saw the property, fell in love, and then since then I started to graft different things slowly. Some of my favorite varieties from Europe, and started kind of making these blends in my head, and hopefully it worked out. And so we continued doing that. Starting at 17, we still have a little bit more work to do. And then when the pandemic hit, I decided to personally lease this property and kind of go all in on the property with the farming aspect and making the wine, and kind of keeping a closed loop from inputs in the vineyard to animals and cover crop, and just just the basic principles of regenerative farming. And 21 was the first cycle where I started farming it myself last October, and then now we are a year later.
When you say you were farming it yourself, it's fairly literal because it was you and one other guy, right? You know, when you think about vineyards, you see people in the fields and, you know, the whole crew. I mean, this is really a personal project.
Yeah, it was definitely. I wanted to see how much work it took for one person and how many hours it would take.
Exceeded what you thought? Certainly not less.
Yeah, no, definitely exceeded. I definitely had to ask for help several times during the season because I couldn't catch up.
Right.
And if, you know, when someone says I farm it myself, it's not literal, because sometimes it is literal, but you sometimes need people to help you with things if things go out of control, like if the shoots are just growing fast and you can cut them,
right.
or if when you're pruning, you know, you better allocate, you know, 6 weeks to pruning if you do it yourself. So, you know, maybe longer, depending.
Do you feel like, so you have to understand everything going on and get into a certain kind of rhythm, in a sense, right? Do you feel you're there?
Oh, no, just starting. It's like,
it is, okay.
It's like a dance with Mother Nature.
Yep.
And it takes two to tango, literally, because, and you always follow. So when you're farming, you know, I know that we use the word sometimes, you know, progressive farming, or let's do it before it happens, and that kind of stuff.
Right.
But that is not always the case, because if you think you're fast, and oh yeah, let me just beat Mother Nature to the punch and get it done before she does something, she will come back with something even stronger,
right,
to kind of combat what you just did. So you have to really kind of take the cues from what's happening by looking at things in the vineyard. And you know, as we look at vines, we just look at the plant growing, but now the one good thing with technology and with all the research is, like, you know, how you kind of measure the nutrient uptake of plants, how you do the
right. There's,
you know,
more information available.
Plant tissue samples,
sure,
and the sap analysis and leaf analysis and water stress. So there's a lot of things you can do, and our goal here is to do that naturally with cover crops and compost tea sprays and fermented sprays and things like that, which kind of allow diversity in the vineyard. Because
yeah, you showed us a medicinal garden and orchard, which you're going to use for treatments down the road, correct?
Yeah. So we've
all contained.
So I took a bunch of different seeds of different herbs and flowers and plants, and kind of just sprinkled them around the apple orchard, and you know, some might produce something this year, some might be next year.
Right. You also have to be patient.
Yeah. So we'll harvest them and dry them and use them in our
treatments,
in our own tisane, you know, our own little.
Right.
Because we kind of ferment these with the ocean water, because we are around the Pacific and there's salt in the water, of course.
for the fermentation.
Yeah, so we ferment most of our sprays, and then
So let me ask you a question. You know, I've been doing the podcast throughout the pandemic, and it was hard for that not to be a topic, whether you were a sommelier, winemaker, importer. In your case, the pandemic was kind of life-changing. We wouldn't necessarily be sitting here in a truck coming away, you know, from a farm you're farming if there wasn't a pandemic. Wasn't that a real possibility?
Yeah, no, 100%. No, if there was no pandemic, I would have not sat down and thought about my life and made these conscious changes And not that I couldn't have done it without the pandemic, but pandemic definitely made me realize that there's more than just the next bottle of wine or the next meal or the next trip.
Well,
There's more to life, and also what you see around right now with climate change and people all coming together, trying to kind of find answers, and I think for me personally, this is a very small way of contributing to the much larger issue at hand.
Right.
Is like, how are we going to tackle this? And every human being takes it upon themselves to do something to help the planet. Everyone, every single one. It's going to take everyone to kind of change a little bit.
It starts with each of us. And we were fortunate enough to witness that at the farm firsthand. So from the pandemic came some great life-changing stuff. Before we go, we're sitting in the truck on a gorgeous November day, driving along the coast. As the holidays come upon us, tell me what you drink, or what are some good things to think about, to drink for the holidays.
Yeah, so now here, we are in California, so we're kind of lucky. We'll still have lots of sunshine in the winter. And
right.
It'll get cold, but it's not going to snow. It might get to freezing, but not below. So, our drinking is different.
Right.
Other than globally, I personally will drink maybe somewhat hardier wines, not hardy as in tannin, but something just more.
So give me some examples.
I drink a lot of Nebbiolo between November and March. At our home, we drink a lot of Nebbiolo.
All kinds. Barolo, Barbaresco.
Yeah.
Stuff from Malanga.
Alto Piemonte, everything. So we have all kinds of different. Piedmont is definitely a big part. And then whites. We'll kind of we drink a lot of Savoy whites. It's like something.
Yeah.
Rousset or Altesse, or maybe Jacquet.
Are those a little? I'm searching for the word richer, or
slightly more unctuous, but not
right.
Not
good
heavy.
For the seasonal, not seasonal change, but to match up the more full body.
And of course, there's the festivities. So champagne is always a big part.
Right. We can't leave champagne.
Big part of what we're doing, and it's a good mix. It's a nice mix, and of course, we can't leave some. We drink Beaujolais and some Jura, and then if you can find some good Burgundy at the right price.
Well, that may be the biggest challenge, but all the other recommendations are good. And one of the cool things is, as we were on Phelan Farms, we saw some Gamay planting. We were brought to the site where you're going to be planting Nebbiolo.
Yeah.
So that's exciting that's going to come out of your vineyards. All right, Raj, thank you for giving us a tour of the farm. Thank you for spending time with us. I know you have a very busy schedule. We want to wish you a happy and a healthy holiday season. And we look forward to tasting your wines.
Thank you.
I'm with Tom Stoltman. We are at Villa Angeli. Angeli, thank you. And we are here on a gorgeous day overlooking the vineyards. Tom was gracious enough to let us take a look around. Tom, just quickly, and I know that it takes longer than quickly, but just give me the elevator, not pitch, but the story on Stoltman.
Well, the story of Stoltman is really a story of limestone and climate. And the limestone, we have about 2 to 3 feet below us. You can see those big chunks over there. Your listeners can.
Yep.
But those came from the excavation for the villa. And the limestone soil, limestone and wine are magical together. as Alberto Antonini used to say, they blend both elegance and austerity at the same time and preserve the acid levels. And then the other factor here, although we're 400 miles south of Napa, we're cooler than anywhere in Napa, except the far southern part along San Pablo Bay, because of the Pacific current brings cold water down the coast, and it hits warmer water off of Point Conception, which creates a lot of turbulence, which morning fog, cool nights, was 30 to 40 degree diurnal change every day.
So that's the perfect convergence of climate and, I don't know if terroir is the right word, but soil.
Yeah.
Right. And that's something you didn't stumble on. Were you looking?
Oh, yeah. I started exploring the idea in about 85. And then I read interviews of Josh Jensen from Clara Winery. And any guy who names his winery after his soil is my kind of guy.
Right.
So anyway, I loved his wines. And so I started actually going to the library. That's how long ago this was, to read up on it, why limestone, not from a journalist perspective or a winemaker, but try to learn more about it.
So your wines are mostly Rhone varietals, although you make a dozen, varietals. But would it be fair to say the wheelhouse is Syrah? And
we have of 174 acres, over 100 are Syrah.
Okay.
And we have different Syrahs. People never really recognize Syrah as being terroir reflected the way we think of Pinot Noir, but we found it really is.
So the limestone and
then
different cooler climate.
Yeah, very cool.
It's perfect for.
And then the sun exposure of the rows, the clones that we have a lot of plants on their own roots because we found that in this arid climate, last year we only got 8 inches of rain. We don't have a problem with phylloxera mutating or developing through the stages it needs to go to be a flying insect. And so we're able to plant on our own roots, which, especially with Syrah, we found to be very important.
Right. You and Peter are going to have to come on the show one day. This requires a lot more discussion. Right. But I just, I thank you for letting us come by and, giving us a little insight. We're approaching the holiday season. And I always love to ask guys like you, what should we be drinking for the holidays?
Well, in the old days, my Thanksgiving wines were white Burgundies and red Burgundies. Now it's...
That's because you're a fancy pants lawyer.
No, it's because I love the wines.
But also go into Christmas and New Year's too, not just Thanksgiving.
But anyway, so now it's Roussanne or Viognier or both. And then... some of our high-end wines like La Croce or Angeli. La Croce is a co-fermented blend of Syrah and Sangiovese, the only place in the world where they ripen at the same time as here. And then over the holidays, it's sometimes it's fun, like our sparkling Trousseau is always fun to have. Grape. Yeah. And holiday meals are so versatile depending on who you're visiting, whether it's Hanukkah or Christmas, or everybody has different things. So you think about the wines with the food.
You're talking brisket and turkeys and roasts. Yeah. So you could
Italian wines go well with everything, and our Sangiovese is spectacular. A lot of people in New York back 15, 20 years ago they wouldn't buy it, but they'd say it's the best Sangiovese they had tasted from the New World.
I have to try it. Yeah. Well, that's Tom Stoltman. Thank you for letting us in your world. Thank you for those recos, and I hope we can talk again soon.
Let's do it.
All right. I'm here with Peter Stoltman from Stoltman Vineyards. We had a chance to talk to Peter's dad earlier, Tom Stoltman, and we're sitting with Peter in downtown Los Olivos at the tasting room, at the Stoltman tasting room. And I wanted to ask Peter a bunch of questions. So your dad gave us sort of the elevator pitch of, how Stoltman came about. But you came into the business in the mid-2000s, right? 2006?
Yeah, I began training in '06 and took over the company in '09.
So give me that quick journey, that journey in wine and life that got you to this. When you go backwards, you were doing wine before this. Tell me some of the things you were doing, distribute or sales. You worked in Australia. Just get me up to speed on that.
Yeah, I quit my real job in LA, moved to Australia for the '06 vintage, landed there after surfing for a month in Molokai, Hawaii, kind of February 1st, jumped into Shiraz. A lot of technique that we don't employ on our vineyard, just shooting for the opposite style of what we're doing at
So
Stolman.
to clarify, those were big, unctuous wines. Your style is of more restrained. Let the grape, don't push the ripeness.
Right. Yeah, we were picking really ripe and then dialing back that ripeness with different techniques in the winery. We try and be totally hands-off in the winery and pick with balance. I want my wines to be yummy. They need to be coating. They need to have texture, but I want them to be alive and have energy too. So we joke that I was sent to Australia to learn how not to make Syrah.
That's a good exercise.
Well, these days there are a lot of great Syrahs coming from Australia. The curve
They went
is,
through,
right.
They got shut down, and now they're coming back making the right kind of wine.
Definitely. Yeah, then I went over to Italy and worked for Alberto Antonini in Chianti, making very traditional Sangiovese, Chianti Reservas, Chiantis, and came home and got a job at Henry Wine Group, and that was the most pivotal training work I did. As far as
That
learning
was the business side.
Well, that was learning what wines people wanted, what was compelling, what was relevant. When you have a great portfolio of wines, including Kermit Lynch, a bunch of great domestic producers, you realize very quickly as a sales rep what wines do a lot of accounts buy, what wines do actually get reordered and don't just sit on the list or the shelf. And you take note of that, and you look for wines that have similar traits, price points, quality for the value, packaging, and taking over. Then in 2009, I was a little bit pent up in that I just said, kind of.
Wait, so
go ahead.
Hold there for a second.
Yep.
2009 at Stoltman, your dad was here, and there were other people, Ruben. 2009, you officially took over.
Right.
So now you're calling the shots.
Well, it was interesting. I mean,
Or
it
a
was,
lot of the shots.
It was the heart of the recession. Our previous bank decided not to renew our credit lines with the heat they were under. I had to get the company refinanced. We're in default from our old bank.
A lot of distractions.
Yeah, Dad was going under a year of cancer treatment, chemotherapy, surgery, radiation. So he was out of commission. So I look back on that year and a half until we finally did get refinanced in August of 2010. It's a trial by fire. It was kind of a 50-50 shot. I mean, Ruben, our vineyard manager and the godfather to my kids, he offered me a personal loan to cover payroll.
Really?
Just as he knew I didn't have credit lines,
That's some tight times,
yeah,
man.
But we did it, and thank God Jess paid my bills for a year and a half as far as running our actual little house, and I maxed out all my credit cards, and but we hit our forecasts, and we got a new bank to finance us, and now we've never looked back. And the really cool thing is that my dad looked at what I'd done and said, "Okay, run with it," and.
So let's talk about what you did, because we had the opportunity to walk through the vineyards, and there's a big focus towards tradition. You're throwing names like Clapp and Versailles around, and you guys are big Ronist guys. Tell me about the things that you started doing when you had the chance to really take a breath and get down to the business of making wine.
Right. Well, it took a minute, right? You don't just in the wine business. You don't just bounce back from hard times immediately.
Right.
But by 2012, we invested in concrete fermenters. We thought we could make better traditional reds with concrete. 2014, Raj came to me and asked to partner with me in what we call Combe today. That
COMBE,
Yep.
which is one of your wine brands.
Right. And that started with Trousseau, a pet nat, and a really light chilled red. 2016.
Did you have to be sold on that, or that sounded like a cool idea?
Actually, I did.
You did? Okay.
Raj brought Ruben and I a really bready, funky Trousseau from Jura, and it kind of tasted like tires. And Ruben looked at me like, "What the heck?" But then we tried some Trousseaus we really liked, and Raj basically made it a no-brainer. You know, like if Earl the Great Dane wants to be interviewed, he's nuzzled up to the microphone.
Gets whatever he wants.
Right. Out, Earl. And, you know, Raj believed in it so much. He basically was going to make it, you know, he was going to make it happen no matter what. Basically, like, if I ended up not liking the wine, he could take it into a different program.
Right.
And I ended up loving the wine. And I'm really proud to have that partnership.
What year was that?
2014 was our first vintage. And the funny thing about Trousseau is that in the vineyard, Ruben and the crew hated it. They call it Bastardo in Portugal because it's a very ugly cluster, very
Why
unevenly
did they hate
colored.
it? Because they just weren't used to it, or it wasn't their style. They were just pushing
it's ugly.
away.
The cluster is ugly. Like
Oh,
we're
yeah.
so used to. I mean, Sangiovese takes a long time to go through variation completely, you know, but eventually colors up completely. Syrah in 3 days it goes from green to purple. Bastardo, Trousseau never gets fully colored. And in 14, we're kind of like, you know, we picked for Pet Nat, and then we're waiting, you know, maybe just, you know, another 0.5 bricks to pick. It was hovering around 22 bricks. And we came out, you know, the next morning, and you could smell the sour rot, even at 22. And like, we are in an arid environment, right? I can only imagine what happens in Jura. Maybe it was a learning curve with actually, you know, tending to the Trousseau to make sure we're getting better airflow for the cluster of Syrah. We haven't had that issue again, but you know, in the harvest of 2014, the crew was just like, "What the heck did
That's crazy.
Petey and Raj plant?"
That's crazy.
But now we all love the
But
wine.
kudos to you for, you know, pushing ahead and doing different things, you know, not necessarily traditional, you know, stuff. Even though, what is it about? More than half of your vineyards are planted to Syrah.
Yep.
I mean, you're doing a dozen other varietals.
Yeah, 15 total varietals.
I mean, we're sitting here doing a tasting. The first 3-4 wines were white, Chenin Blanc,
Roussanne, Chardonnay.
yeah, you know, all great stuff and everything. And recently, you made a Syrah. What was it? The 2019,
Great Places, August James.
right? Which Galoni loved that, which is a validation of the type of wines that you're making.
Yeah, and that was huge for me because that project
And it's
began,
also named after your son.
Yeah, well,
which is
I mean,
a big deal, right?
I believe in it a lot, and it was cool that Galoni, you know, he called it the best wine we've ever made, and I mean the amount of resources and time we've put into propagating just 50 special cuttings to the full 2-acre block that we have now, then to have Galoni just, you know, kind of have his jaw drop and demand to be shown the vineyard and shown the clusters and just how loose and tiny the clusters are. And Galoni asked me, what are you going to do when every winemaker in California comes to you wanting to buy that strain? And, you know, I think I have to say, well, this is a deal between my family and our friends. And
there ain't enough anyway.
Yeah,
and it's
it's really special. And to me, it's just so intimate. I mean, I've named both of my sons after this, you know, parcel. And looking at the clusters, Ruben knew even before we picked and fermented the wine that it was totally different than any clone, even any other pre-clonal strain we had in the vineyard. And just bone-rooted on our limestone, it gets next level.
It's great. One last thing. It's definitely unique, certainly admirable, but the way you run your business, your employees are part of the company, the family. Explain that to me, because that's not a frequent occurrence in the wine business.
It's probably actually, you know, I'm proud of all of the new projects, and, you know, certainly the wines we're making today, I think, are better than they've ever been. But the thing I'm most proud of is what my dad started and Ruben carried out. You know, my dad always said if his dream of beginning a vineyard, planting a vineyard, owning a vineyard was to come true, it would positively affect everybody involved. And that meant not employing migrant labor, of actually employing people full-time so they could live locally, their families could have stability. And started with 15 people planting our original vineyards, and now we're up to 30 people. Everybody is full-time. And Ruben, back in the day, started a training project where he would give the crew their own quadra, their own block of vineyard, so they would become the farmer and not the worker. When he told my dad about it, my dad loved it and wanted to give the crew their own wine so they could take pride in it and learn to enjoy the fruit of their labor. And then once we survived the 2009 recession, Ruben demanded that Jess and I go down to Jalisco and meet the crew's extended family, his family. I mean, Ruben's the youngest out of 11. His wife, Felipe, is the second youngest out of 10. Huge family, some amazing parties. And I was hit by how much my dad's decision just to give people a good job year-round impacted tenfold the number of our employees. And now that we had survived the economic crisis, I told Ruben, late one night drinking 4 days of tequila, hey, one day Quadria, the program, is going to have way more of an impact. Let's make it 10% of our production. Let's blend in more wine to the little quadra. So we had been only making the profit sharing wine from the training block. We went home. We had 2009 wine in barrel. We redid all the blends so that the Quadria blend could expand to 10% of our production, and that's the way it goes today. So from the estate, as the estate has grown, still 10% at the minimum of our red wine goes into the Quadria blend, and all the profits go back, divided by seniority, to our 30 full-time workers. And actually, got in another 3 weeks from yesterday, we'll have our profit sharing party under our big oak tree.
That's great.
And it's just a happy
us,
day.
One of the nice things was we toured the vineyards and we got to see everybody's little plot. So it's sort of the tangible reality was right there.
And it's such a beautiful place, as you saw. It just makes it all the more special.
I'll post pictures. All right, finally, we're going into the holidays. Let's look beyond Thanksgiving, because we'll probably air this after Thanksgiving. But talk about holiday wines. What should we be drinking? And it relates to you and what you make and what you like, So, the answer certainly could be self-serving. I think Syrah goes with a lot of holiday meats, roast, hams, brisket for Hanukkah, all that stuff. Give me some good ideas.
Well, to me, number one with the holidays, you have special occasions where you want to pop something special, something that you want to enjoy something with your loved ones. But number two, in California, the weather has finally gotten cold. Like all summer long, I drink Trousseau, I drink Gamay.
So that changes what you're drinking,
right? And it's finally
like putting the fur coat out, right?
It's finally Syrah weather, right? And you can pop a Syrah. You feel like popping a Syrah in the afternoon, letting it breathe for the evening. So we do get high on our own supply here because we are so proud of the wines we're making. So it's finally the time of year where I'm drinking our high-end Syrahs, like the Great Places.
Right.
But it's also the time when we begin to dig into our Northern Rhone wines, and I've been going heavy on a few. Well, really, the last one that I can actually afford is Monnier Périal Saint Joseph. I'm going deep on the 18s, waiting for the 19s.
They make good value.
One of the last wines that I can still afford.
Right.
That and
I agree with that.
And my boy Frank Balthazar, and he still is creating amazing wine at great value in the appellation of Cornas.
I agree.
And then when Jess and I are home alone, maybe break out the good stuff. Maybe the day before Christmas Eve or December 29th, pop out a bottle of Alemán Chaillot or Cusel Grand Place.
I can't get to that stuff, so I pop open the Gonans.
I got it. Yeah, Gonan's right up there.
Which are not crazy yet.
They're going up and up and up.
Yeah.
And you're right, you can't get enough. They're not bottles on the internet.
Yeah. So those are some good recos. Obviously, the holidays bring a certain type of eating. You're seeing some weather change, so you're going into those, delicious Northern Rhone wines. All right, I want to thank Peter Stoltman from Stoltman Vineyards. I want to thank your dad, Tom, for giving us the opportunity to tour the vineyards, which are absolutely gorgeous. And then we took a drive down to the tasting room in Los Olivos, and we got to taste a bunch of some really great wines. So thank you for everything.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you.
This episode is brought to you by Wisconsin Cheese. Wisconsin, the state of cheese, makes half of the nation's specialty cheese and wins more awards than any other state or country. Our heritage and traditions, master cheesemaker program, and the American propensity for innovation all put Wisconsin on the cutting edge of cheesemaking. With over 600 varieties of cheese to choose from and 5,500 national and international awards and counting, get ready to turn your refrigerator into a trophy case. Enjoying a Wisconsin cheese is basically like winning a gold medal in culinary achievement. Set your mind at cheese. When you bite into a wedge of Wisconsin Wonderful, you know it is made with the ultimate skill and passion possible. Find your next favorite cheese at wisconsincheese.com.
I'm here at Lo-Fi Wines. I am in Santa Maria, California. I am here with Craig and Mike. They are the proprietors and the principals of Lo-Fi. We are in their barrel room, and we've tasted probably 8-10 wines, half of them out of the barrel and probably the other half out of the bottle. So first of all, thank you guys for having me. It's a pleasure to finally meet up with you guys. Give me the quick story, why the two of you are together, how that happened, and how did Lo-Fi come about?
Well, we went to college together. We were in the same fraternity.
All right, so you were fraternity guys.
Yeah.
It's kind of different than the way I perceive you now.
Yeah. Well, it was kind of a hippie fraternity.
Oh, it was hippie? Yeah. Okay, that kind of makes sense.
Animal House.
It was Animal House and all that. So I think we talked about this off air, but there was no inkling or discussion of making wine back then.
No,
so
not in the least.
What happens after college? Do you guys stay friends, stay in touch, or do you go off and do your own thing and come back together? Or
We lived next to each other after college, and then moved out to Wyoming.
west. Yeah.
Moved out to Wyoming together, and
so
then Craig stayed in Wyoming.
You hung as friends for a while.
Yeah.
So then tell me the moment or the time or the place where this wine idea thing happens.
I got into wine with another friend of ours from college, and then moved out to California. And
That's Mike. So you did before you, Craig, right?
Correct. He ended up Northern California.
Right. Was that Gergich or there was something
I
before
worked
that?
at Saddleback and Gergich.
Okay. In Napa.
And El Molino.
And El Molino, yeah.
We're legendary.
Yeah. Reg Oliver. My son's named after Reg Oliver.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
We're legendary
Not Reg
Chard
Oliver.
and Pinot maker, right? Okay, so what year or when does it materialize that, hey, we got to do this?
So I made wine up in Sonoma, and Craig came out to work harvest. And that was 2000?
2001.
2001.
Yeah.
So Craig came out. He was living in Wyoming.
But wait, so hey, Craig, why don't you come out and do harvest? Nothing to
Exactly.
do, just like to be together in an activity. Nothing to do with like, hey, I want to get into wine.
Well, I was a ski bum. So it was in between seasons. So I was like, well, I can come out and work harvest.
This makes sense.
Save a bunch of money and then go skiing all winter.
and not have to work.
And I don't have to work as much.
So did the harvest, was that an enlightening thing? Like, this is kind of cool, or it didn't even hit you then?
It didn't hit me then. No.
Okay.
Mike moved down here, and then he became the winemaker at Demetria, which is a biodynamic
I know Demetria, sure.
place. So that was a few years later, and then I would come down for that, and that's kind of when we got more into like the.
What
every
year was that?
2005.
2005 was the
Wow.
first vintage. I think I came for 2006. You and Louis did 05.
Yeah.
Wait, so Lo-Fi 2005 was the first?
No,
right.
This is at Demetria.
Yeah, that's what I
But
thought.
moving in towards the
Right.
biodynamic, natural
Yeah.
kind of world.
Yeah.
Right, so
But nobody was buying
you
natural
forge
wine in
your
2005.
sensibilities and your commitment towards natural and biodynamic.
Well, Gergich had 230 acres certified Demeter, and
He was certified down there?
yeah.
God,
So
to this
Well, I
day-
think it was the largest certified
Certified
I
vineyard
didn't
in
know
the
that. God bless
U.S.
him.
So they did that, like, and Gergich's sensibility about wine, they never tried to make big. It was California Chardonnay, and so things we never watered stuff back, and
Right.
trying to be as frugal as possible is the Gergich way.
So, move ahead a little for me. When does the lo-fi?
Well, Mike left Demetria and went to Martian,
Okay.
and he said, "Do you want to come and be assistant winemaker to me?" So I moved here full time.
That's
I was
when
like,
you
I think
made
20 years
the
was long
serious
enough being
full-time leap.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was
20 years
long
of
enough
dirt
being a
bagging.
ski bum.
Did you wait? Did you do it because it was a job, or you were like ready? Like, I like wine, and let me do this.
Well, I thought it'd be good for my knees, and, not being a dirtbag. I
That
think
was-
it's time to move on.
That was the answer I was
Yeah.
looking for.
But Craig was good at it. It's not it's a chosen
I
profession.
had done 8, 9 harvests before that.
Okay.
10 harvests, something like
And
that.
a lot of what we do is it's a trade in a way too. Is that if you have quality workmanship, the wine kind of shows through too. And Craig was always really good at making the physical act of making wine. Like dotting I's and crossing T's is important in this business, and the reason why people have wines that are messed up are because they don't do those things. And
Perfect partnership.
yeah,
You know,
so
you
Craig
have everything
was
covered.
good at that. Yeah.
Everything covered. So, lo-fi officially starts when?
Well, we were at Martian at the time, and
Were you like moonlighting, or
no, not at all.
You left to?
No,
We left
no.
Demetria.
He left Demetria.
Yeah.
Yeah, Martian. We were making the wine, and it kind of fell apart as things do. But we had made I don't know, a ton and a half of Cab Franc that was just going to be personal drinking wine.
So the first wine
so,
was
yeah.
a Cab
Yeah,
Franc.
but then Tom at Revel was like, "Well, we already sell your wine for Martian. We'll just sell that too." So we're like, "Sure."
So you had
and
a
we
head
just took
start.
that money and just kept rolling it into the next year after year.
So we
So it was
kind of
100.
finished
It was
here.
like 100 cases the first year, and then 300 cases the next year, and
Everything kept snowballing.
yeah, now we make 8,000 cases.
So this is, this is a unique operation in the sense that you make a lot of different wines and you have a certain philosophy on how you make them. I mean, what is that? I mean, what's the mission? What's the vision?
I always thought it was one of the things that I at Gergich that I thought that was add a whole bunch of shit to wine and to make wine where you pick something really ripe and you add water to it and you have to add acid to it and you add enzymes to it and stuff is the challenge in that is of making wine is pretty minimal because you can fix everything
Right.
via chemistry.
Right.
But what I learned from working with Mike and Gus was that, picking the wine at the exact time that you don't have to add water, you don't have to add acid. You're
It's
not
farming.
looking up
It's not manipulation.
Well, it's a lot of having good farming, but it's also that's where you apply your craft is making something that you don't have to manipulate it. I mean, it's the difference between making Saint Marcelin as cheese or buying craft singles.
Right. So
craft
you're
singles.
you're making a dozen different kinds of wines, right? I mean, you're making everything from Riesling and Chenin to Cab Franc. You make, different
Trousseau,
SKUs.
yeah.
Trousseau, Chardonnay, skin contact Chardonnay. Why do you make what you make? Because that's who you're finding out there and contracting? Or it's your curiosities?
Yeah, what we like. I
More
mean,
of
I think,
curiosity,
Yeah, I think it's what we like. I think we buy a lot of interesting wines, and it's not. So making wines similar to the things that you do, or a representation of what we have to offer as a growing region versus what they do, like the Trousseau, and
It's
Sure,
back
yeah.
to how we even started.
Yeah.
We make the wine because that's what we like to drink.
Right.
We're not making it for anybody else.
For some reason that
If
usually
other people
works
like it,
out
that's
in the
great.
end. And Mike, you have vines at your house, right?
yeah, Gamay, Cab Franc, and Trousseau.
How much are we talking about?
3 acres.
Wow.
It's a big yard.
Big yard. And we tasted a lot of that wines. So that's lo-fi wines. They're incredible quality. The value as far as cost is off the charts. Some people sometimes say the kids like some of this stuff, but that aside, I mean, these are well made, delicious wines. So if you haven't heard of lo-fi, you should look out for them. Before we go, we're approaching the holidays. tell me what you guys drink for the holidays and what we should be drinking for the holidays. And I'm talking going into New Year's.
Of our own wines
our own
or
wine.
other wines?
But both, it could be self-serving. What do you like? You have enough wines that if you can't find a lo-fi to pair with a holiday meal, you're...
Well, the Cab Franc mullet,
Yeah.
has a nice savory quality, and then we have the
So for roasted meats,
Yeah.
like a Christmas roast,
yeah, I mean
hams,
turkey.
Hanukkah brisket,
Yeah,
turkey, all that stuff.
for Thanksgiving.
There you go.
and then we have the this Pinot Rosé, sparkling Pinot Rosé. It's really
Always festive.
yeah.
Craig always brings library wines for Thanksgiving,
Oh yeah.
so that's it.
This
I
is
better
from,
I better start looking for
this is
it.
from your collection.
Right there.
Oh, your lo-fi library.
Yeah.
All right, thank you guys for having us. Thank you for letting us taste wines.
Thanks for coming.
And
with us.
thanks for taking a few minutes to talk to us. And we only wish you good luck and success.
Cheers. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks. If you have a question, suggestion, wine happening, or event, hit me up at samatthegrapenation.com. That's samatthegrapenation.com. Subscribe to the Grape Nation podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, or wherever you get your pods. Give yourself a little Hanukkah or Christmas present and hit that subscribe button. And every week you'll get notified with your weekly Grape Nation. Follow us on Facebook at The Grape Nation. On Instagram, you can follow us at SBenRuby, and on Twitter at BenRuby. I know, a little confusing, but use the hashtag The Grape Nation on both to connect to us. Thank you to our guests, Raj Parr, Tom and Peter Stoltman, Mike Roth, and Craig Winchester. Thank you to all our engineers working on the show this year and everyone at the Heritage Radio Network. I'm Sam BenRuby, and you've been listening to The Grape Nation. The Grape Nation is powered by Simplecast. Thanks for listening to Heritage Radio Network, food radio supported by you. For our freshest content, subscribe to our newsletter. Enter your email at the bottom of our website, heritageradionetwork.org. Connect with us on Instagram and Twitter at heritage_radio. You can also find us at facebook.com/Heritage Radio Network. Heritage Radio Network is a nonprofit organization driving conversations to make the world a better, fairer, more delicious place. And we couldn't do it without support from listeners like you. Want to be part of the food world's most innovative community? Subscribe to the shows you like, tell your friends, and please join the HRN family by becoming a member. Just click on the beating heart at the top right of our homepage. And thanks for listening.